Are you tired of this happening while snatching a wyvern egg? My name's Secorsa, and today I'll show you how to snatch a wyvern egg, hatch the egg, collect wyvern milk, and fully imprint on your baby wyvern. And if you stick around, I'll tell you a couple of neat things about wyverns. Before you try to snatch, let's prepare. This first structure is entirely optional, but it acts as a safety net if you ever have an emergency and need to stall a wyvern while you get away. All there is to this structure is a series of tall pillars with ceilings on the top. The pillars can have no more than one foundation width between them, as shown here. If you have a gap between the pillars that is 2 foundation spaces wide, a wyvern can fit through. The next thing you want to build is a bird cage. It isn't quite as optional, but you have a choice on how you can make it. I'll explain how to build my version, as well as show us a couple of alternative methods you could use instead of this structure. You'll want to find a place you can set up a stone Behemoth gateway nearby the Wyvern Canyon. You'll want to find a place that is fairly flat, as the structure is quite sizable. To start off, you'll want the structure to be close to perpendicular to the canyon. The stone pillars for the corners should be about 5 foundations apart. You'll want to make use of thatched ceilings and wood pillars as scaffolding. From here, build to 4 pillars high and build thatched ceilings at the top of the pillar, and then 2 ceilings away from the canyon. Then bring the next set of pillars down from the thatched ceiling. This is to make sure the roof of your bird cage is level. You'll want to repeat this process a total of 3 times per side. On the side opposite of where the gate's going to be, you'll need to place 2 sets of pillars coming down in the middle. Build a ladder up to your scaffolding and repeat this process until the pillar next to the gate is stacked 10 tall. This is to ensure the wyvern cannot fit over the top. Line the top of the pillar stacks with stone ceilings, then connect the sides across the top so the wyvern cannot fly out of the top. Now it's time to place the gate. The inside edges of the door should line up closely to the edges of the pillar. It doesn't need to be lined up perfectly, but it does look nicer if it is. You can leave the scaffolding in place. If you built the cage correctly, it shouldn't be load-bearing, and the wyverns will destroy it for you anyways. You'll also want to consider how you want to shut the door. If you're confident in your ability, you can shut it yourself manually. If you have a partner helping you, they can shut the door after you bait the wyvern in, or you could make a protected generator with a keypad and set the door to a number that is quick to mash into the keypad. You'll need to experiment to find what works for you. It's going to typically be whatever number your cursor defaults to when you open the keypad, repeated 4 times. Here are a few variations if you need more inspiration. The L design and U design are more expensive, but more solo friendly, as the AI of the wyvern has to backtrack around corners to get free from the trap. The Behemoth gate design is a resource intense design, but easier to plop down as there's only 6 things to place. While I do recommend building a bird cage, it's not 100% necessary. You could make do with just knocking out the wyvern by kiting it. It is a bit more risky, and I don't recommend doing it, especially if you're attempting this on your own. If you have help, a better method than kiting is to use a chain bola. You can have a ballista mounted on a platform saddle, have one player lure the wyvern in, and the other player knocks it down with a chain bola. Both use darts to knock it out before it breaks free. Knocking out wyverns is an important part of harvesting wyvern milk. I'll talk about this later on in the video. The flyers I recommend for this are either going to be a pteranodon or a griffin. Either of these will work for our purposes, being bait or carrying an oviraptor quickly. Speaking of, you'll need to have an oviraptor that you won't mind dying. For weapons, you'll want a decent long neck rifle and tons of tranking ammo. You'll also want preserving salt for when you're gathering milk. It's made in a mortar and pestle with 2 raw salt and 1 sulfur. Now that I've outlined everything I recommend for this, let's get started. Fly around the canyon, avoiding wyverns while scouting out for eggs with your spyglass. Once you find the one you want, return to your oviraptor. Have your oviraptor follow you, then mount your flyer and pick up the oviraptor. Go back to the area where you found the egg. Make sure you take a stamina break before going into the Wyvern Canyon. Wait until it's clear, then fly into the alcove. Drop the oviraptor near the egg, dismount while you wait for the oviraptor to pick the egg up. Grab the egg from the oviraptor. Jump on your pteranodon. Pick the oviraptor back up and run for it. Just grabbing the oviraptor has a chance for the egg to just disappear and permanently break the oviraptor's ability to pick up eggs. The wyverns are still aggressive, but they don't have egg aggression and will eventually lose interest in you if you do accidentally get too close to one. By the way, you cannot use a pteranodon's roll attack while carrying an oviraptor, so you really need to make sure the coast is clear before sealing an egg. As a useful tip, you can use a tribe mate to distract the wyverns away from the egg while you run in and grab it. Congratulations, you have a wyvern egg. Drop your egg off in a hatchery and wait for it to hatch. A hatchery is typically an enclosed building with AC units to bring the insulation up high enough that you can ignore the temperature the egg needs to hatch. This is typically around 10 to 15 AC units, but it can be higher or lower depending on the difference between the temperature the egg needs and the ambient temperature of the region. The wyvern egg has an incubation period of around 5 hours. Once the egg hatches, the baby will need food and want to imprint. You'll need a wyvern's milk for both. To get the milk, you'll need to knock out a female wyvern. If you try to get milk from a male wyvern, you'll find they don't have anything your baby wyvern will want. In the meantime, you can set up a feeding trough full of food and a daedon with passive healing turned on to keep the wyvern baby alive while you go out and buy a gallon of milk. This strategy can be maintained throughout the entirety of childhood with the addition of stimulants to keep the wyvern from passing out due to hunger. If you do this, you won't have to gather wyvern milk. Go back to the Wyvern Canyon and lure a female wyvern into the trap you've constructed, or use one of the other methods I talked about earlier to knock her out. Dead wyverns give no milk. Remember this. Once knocked out, you'll need to grab the milk, a total of 5, as quickly as possible before the wyvern wakes up. If allowed to wake up, female wyverns regenerate milk after about an hour has passed. You can also kill an alpha wyvern and get a large amount of wyvern milk all at once. By default, the spoil timer for Wyvern Milk is 30 minutes in the player's inventory. This can be increased to 1 hour with preserving salt, 4 hours in a tamed dino with preserving salt, 10 hours in an active preserving bin with preserving salt. A stack of preserving salt will deplete in 2 hours and will need to be replaced before then. Wyvern Milk cannot be stored in a refrigerator. Lower level baby wyverns will have less max food than can be restored by Wyvern Milk, so will need to be force fed to restore hunger. This shouldn't be a problem once some time has passed, or if you have a higher level baby wyvern. Occasionally the wyvern will ask for different imprinting activities, such as going for a walk, cuddling, or asking for more Wyvern Milk, given by interacting with the baby while the milk is in the last slot of the hotbar. By default, the interval between imprinting sessions is about 8 hours. During maturation, you'll have between 10 and 12 opportunities to imprint. The more you're able to imprint, the higher the bonus stats the baby will receive. There's a further bonus that the person who imprinted on the wyvern is riding after they have grown. The total maturation time at a default rate is almost 90 hours, or approximately 3 days and 18 hours. Once that has passed, you'll have a fully grown wyvern. Now for the neat facts that I promised earlier. Remember, if this video was helpful, make sure you like and share it. Your support really helps out the channel. Wyverns can be ridden without a saddle and have no saddle to craft. Wyvern's primary attack is a bite attack. Their secondary attack is a breath attack specific to the type of wyvern. Their crouch attack knocks nearby creatures back while the wyvern is grounded. While in the air, the crouch attack can pick up a large assortment of creatures. There are 4 types of wyvern eggs: fire, poison, electric, and ice. Wyvern eggs can be used in the recipe for extraordinary kibble. 1 wyvern egg, 10 mijo berries, 1 giant bee honey, 1 Lazarus chowder, 5 fiber, 1 water, and a cooking pot for about 30 seconds. Wyverns have 7 variations. The fire wyvern has a fire breath attack that puts a burning debuff on your target that deals damage over time. The poison wyvern has a toxic breath that explodes into a toxic cloud that deals damage over time to creatures standing in the cloud. The electric wyvern has an electric beam that has no projectile and immediately goes to max range. The beam also deals torpor damage. The alpha wyvern is a rare spawn that is larger and more deadly and more glowy than a standard wyvern. These wyverns always have a lot of wyvern milk on their corpse. The ice wyvern is exclusive to Ragnarok and has an ice breath that gives a slow debuff to the target creature on contact. The forest wyvern is exclusive to the Forest Titan fight on the Extinction DLC map. These wyverns have a fire breath similar to the fire wyvern, but they are temporary. They spawn during the boss fight as friendly to the player and immediately start losing health until they eventually die or despawn. There's also a corrupted wyvern variant. These are highly aggressive wyverns that have a tattered or rotting appearance, and their attack is similar in effect to the fire wyvern. There are also several event-exclusive variations to the wyvern. The Bone Fire Wyvern made its first appearance during the Fear Evolved 2 event. These are a bony form of the Alpha Wyvern that gives a bone wyvern costume on death. The Dota Wyvern made its first appearance during the Fear Evolved 2 event. They're a boss-like creature that spawned as a challenge for players. They can use all the Scorched Earth Wyvern's attacks. There's a special Dota Wyvern mask skin that can be obtained after defeating the Dota Wyvern. The Dota Wyvern is also accompanied by zombie wyverns. Zombie wyverns are a fleshy, undead version of the Scorched Earth Wyverns. Once the Dota Wyvern is defeated, you can claim the nearby zombie wyverns. However, they cannot be ridden. Wild wyverns have a chance to drop a talon of their element type, which can be used as a tribute to summon bosses. This is limited to fire, poison, and electric, and their direct variations, such as the zombie wyverns. That's all I've got for today. Thank you guys so very much for watching, and have yourselves a very good day.